So hello, my name's Rob and this is Cattle Rabbit Scale Model Studios, and in this week's video we're going to be taking a look at Warhammer the Horus Heresy Legion Imperialis Mechanicum Battle Group, kindly sent to me by Games Workshop to unbox for you guys. This is my first foray into Legion Imperialis, so I was just as surprised as everyone else at how small these things actually are. So without further ado, let's just unbox, dive in and have a good look at it. So the first thing I always like to look at is the box art. Again, it's got stunningly painted box art, shows the army kind of marching. You kind of get a good like Marsy kind of feel to it. Wish there was a few more figures, but overall I think it's a really good composition and incredibly well painted. Big fan of this. Now this box, you get a whopping 146 miniatures at epic scale. So there is a hell of a lot of stuff in here. I was really surprised. I will go through what you actually get in here. There's a little bit of an excerpt at the top telling you about the army, and then it shows you on the back everything you get on this box. Now you'll have to bear with me because some of these names I'm probably going to butcher, so let's just enjoy laughing at me as I try and pronounce them. You get 2 Archmagos Prime on Abeyant, 2 Vultarax Stratos-Automata, 2 Arlatax Battle-Automata, 2 Myrmidon Secutor Host bases, 2 Domitar Battle-Automata, 2 Tech-Priest Auxilia bases, 2 Vorax Battle-Automata bases, 4 Ursarax Cohort bases, 4, and I can't say this one, Triaros and accessories, 4 Castellax Battle-Automata bases, 4 Myrmidon Destructor Host bases, 8 Thallax Cohort bases, 8 Thanatar Siege-Automata with weaponed options, and then you get 10 Adsecularis Tech-Thrall bases. Bases, I'm assuming, is a group of them. I'm a little bit inexperienced with this stuff. Please do let me know in the comments below. It's also worth noting that this thing has a whopping 530 plastic bits, and it also states on the Games Workshop website that this box set contains 146 epic scale plastic Citadel miniatures, which combine to build 56 Mechanicum or Dark Mechanicum models as follows. So is it 146 or 56? I'm not quite sure. If anyone can clarify in the comments below, please do let me know. The bases here, you do get 16 32mm bases, and you get 38 25mm. They've kind of got that really nice kind of almost like a ground sculpted part on them, really nicely detailed. I wish something like this was for 40k instead of just plain black ones. You could maybe get, I used to be able to get them. I don't think they do too many of them anymore. It's outside of Necromunda, but very cool. But this is what you're greeted to in the box itself. It's 8 sprues. And you can, I'm just going to take a minute to kind of like in awe of how small these things are. I expected them to be tiny. I didn't expect them to be this tiny. The detail is really well captured, and I was quite surprised. There's a little bit of like, flat cabling and stuff like that, but to be expected. But if we just get like a Primaris Space Marine and pop them next to one of these, I mean, you could comfortably have your Primaris Space Marines playing a game of this size and it wouldn't look out of place. They're just so diddy. I myself, with short fat stumpy builder's fingers, actually I'm not going to unclip any of these for this video because fear of losing them, and just I know what would happen. So we'll take a look at it. So the first one we've got here, this is your infantry sprue. Lots of tiny little figures on this. Again, I don't really know what to say about this. A lot of these are one modular piece. You'll see later as I go through the instructions, just what this entails. If you're new to Imperialis like me, I think you'll be a little bit taken back by this. You do get 8 sprues in here, and you get 4 identical sets of 2. So you'll get, like here, you've got your tanks. They're just 2 identical sprues that make, so that's kind of how this works. You'll see from the instructions it does go some way to kind of help you understand what you've got going on here and stuff like that. This one here is your Mechanicum Battle-Automata. It's worth noting that some of these parts do require assembly. They're not all just modular pieces, something I was quite surprised at. There are some absolute wee little pieces in here. Some of it looks really, really simple to go together, just, you know, two halves kind of go over like a shell. But you can see here, this is like a leg, it's like a bit of a hand that I'm pointing to there. It's just so small. I would love to know how people kind of build these regularly. If you're big into Legion Imperialis, I'd love to know what hurdles you had to overcome, how different it is from 40k, because I got to admit, just looking at these fills me with dread. This is just stuff waiting to be lost. I really didn't want to unclip anything with these guys, because I was so paranoid about losing bits. Don't get me wrong, the detail is absolutely fantastic. This one here is your infantry sprue. Again, lots of little diddy people. I can identify some of the stuff from 40k. I used to do a little bit of AdMech myself, like the axes and stuff like that. Detail is exceptional for how small these things are. I was really, really surprised. I was expecting kind of like blobs of plastic, but after kind of getting the sprues in front of me and looking at them, I was really like, wow, this is super cool. This sprue here is your Siege-Automata sprue. So you've got lots of bits. You'll recognise some of these parts straight away. As you can see here, we've seen the 30k counterparts of these. Really, really cool models. I actually wish they were bigger plastic ones, because I think they're really, really good looking siege weapons. But just looking at all the options, all the little bullet casings are sculpted. You know, again, just so pleasantly surprised. Considering I'll be honest, I didn't really have much of an interest in Legion Imperialis, and then when this came through the letterbox, I was like, okay, well, this is something new. And then looking at it, I was both incredibly intimidated and also very kind of like excited as well. So really keen to kind of show these off to you guys. Looking at the instructions, and I actually do have the instructions out in front of me. It's helping me with some of the names, which I'm trying to avoid saying at the moment, I'm not going to lie. But it's got color-coded sprues, and it tells you what is on what. So it tells you, you know, you've got some lovely examples here, but then it will say, like, you know, you've got two of these with the name. So it's a little bit of a reference. So it's not like you've got sometimes what we see in 40k, you'll have like one model on one sprue and then four on another, and the numbering systems all over the shop. Although these are quite complicated and some of them do require assembly. As you can see here, this guy, you know, you glue two halves, you glue an extra bit on, and then you glue your guy on. Your soldiers just tend to go on a base by the looks of it. Nice and simple. Big fan of that. They are all next to each other and they are all on their relevant sprues. So you're not going to be hunting through loads of sprues for lots of odd little bits. Now it does start to become quite complicated, but there is some modularity here. As you can see, you've got your legs and then you just put your top halves on your guys as you see fit. As we move over to the next set of guys, business as usual. Little bit of modularity with the legs and the top halves. Very, very cool. Some odd little bits of assemblies here with little arms and that need to be glued on, which can be a bit frustrating. Some really, really interesting assemblies here, like you have to glue a thumb on. That's fine in 40k, but on stuff like this I wish it was one chunky piece. So for as good as a lot of the bits are, some of the bigger robots definitely are a little bit intimidating, especially if you've got stumpy fingers like myself. But they do allow for quite a bit of modularity, which is quite surprising. I wouldn't have thought modularity and kind of uniqueness on the figures would have mattered too much in a game of this scale, but it's nice that it's something that they have included. As you can see here again, bits are, you know, you've got to glue like the legs on and the feet on, and just it's a little bit intimidating. I would have thought the bigger stuff would be easier, but in actual fact it's the smaller little single guys that seem to be less hassle. As you can see here, this guy's got a fair few bits to go to. You get a choice of like top sections, arms and then legs, so you can really mix and match them, which is, you know, quite a nice surprise. Then you've got the kind of noodly thing, as I call him, the prawn. He's got a sculpted base on him and two halves just sandwich, you know, with some extra little weapon bits that have to be glued together. Again, I don't know why they're asking you to glue such tiny bits together. I'm sure they could have just made it one modular piece, but you know, I'm sure there's a reason for that. And as we move over to the bigger boys, they are quite unique. Now, the way these things work is that you build kind of like your top halves, and then each section has a lower section. So you build the legs in 3 different types. So you can actually mix and match, even with the bigger sections, the legs to the upper torsos, and then you actually get a choice of weapons. So you can really kind of build these out how you want to. Again, quite surprising at the amount of ingenuity and engineering that's gone into these smaller kits. I just expected kind of to pop one out of a sprue and maybe attach something, not to build, you know, all these little robots in little bits, you know, as you would a normal thing. But you know, I definitely get a magnifying glass for these. I'm a little bit blind in one eye, so stuff like this, it's going to be a squinting job. Then your tanks, as you can see here, they go together just in a little bit of a box section. You kind of pin your wheel sections like cogs up the top here, and then the outside frames just kind of push together. Really, really clever construction for a lot of it. Some of it is a little bit head scratchy while I'm having to glue on tiny little thumbs to 10mm figures. Again, I'm sure that's a reason. I don't understand part of the manufacturing process, you know, why they have to be like this. But I got to admit, I'm quite excited to start working on some of these. Do stay tuned for some Legion Imperialis. I've got a little rhino somewhere knocking about from the free miniature of the month, which I think I might paint up first to try and get in the mood for these, or the mindset, shall we say. But let me know if you are going to pick these up, or if you're going to turn these into Dark Mechanicum, because apparently they can also be Dark Mechanicum. I know that's a faction that people have been begging for 40k for a long while. But yeah, Legion Imperialis Mechanicum Battle Group, £95 from Games Workshop, 146 miniatures, a lot of bits. Seems like a lot of dropped. Your carpet's going to be your number one enemy here. Put a sheet down or something, do yourself a favour, that's what I'll be doing. But look, that's it from me in this one. Let me know in the comments below if you've got any questions. I'll do my best to answer them, even with my limited experience. And yeah, like and subscribe, all that good stuff. I will see you all next time. God bless and take care.